coming here for the first time, PechaKucha means chit chat. It comes from a Japanese word. So the format is 20-20. 20 slides, 20 seconds. So each speakers will have 6 minutes 40 to say what they want to say. So the idea is to be concise and right on point. Also, before I'm going further, I want to remind people, if you could maybe sit on a seat, because we don't want you to sit on the edge there. Like, I don't want you to fall. We don't have insurance here. So yeah, this is our 25th PechaKucha. So PechaKucha, I don't know, is this like clapping time? So this is our 25th PechaKucha. PechaKucha Night Ubud has been facilitated by Hubud since day one. And this is actually our 24th time holding it here at betelNut. So please give a big applause to betelNut, to Tara, Odette, and betelNut team. The theme of this month's PechaKucha is freedom. So last week on August 17th, Indonesia had celebrated the 17th anniversary. So tonight, you will hear the speakers sharing their idea about freedom. And tonight, we have 8 amazing speakers sitting there. They're ready to rock the stage. We have Claudia Eslahpazir. We have Jeni Kardinal. We have also Lydia and also the talented Rizal Abdulhadi. Soraya Petzoldt, and probably some of you already know, Blaylock from Ubud community. We also have Andrea. I was going to say that. And Ubud. It feels like I'm like presenting for Indonesian Idol or something. Everybody keeps clapping. So these speakers have been working on their presentation. So 2020 format is not an easy format. So please be easy on them. And right, I think I've spoken, well, it's not 6 minutes 40, it's actually pretty quick. I'm gonna ask the first speaker to go on stage, Claudia Eslahpazir. Claudia. Claudia Eslahpazir is a natural-born business strategist hailing from New York City. Her passion is to help smart, successful, and driven entrepreneurs catapult their businesses to success through marketing, consulting, and coaching. So she used to work for some of the world's most prestigious companies, such as L'Oreal USA, Godiva Chocolatier, Hyatt Hotels, Google, and Anthropology. Today, she supports entrepreneurs with businesses of all sizes across the planet, helping them making magic happen. Apparently I just heard it today, she also featured a Johnny Fresh video clip, which will come out soon. You'll see it on Facebook probably. So please give a big applause to our first speaker tonight, Claudia Eslahpazir.
So I used to be a know-it-all. You know the kind of person I'm talking about. The person that has an answer to every question. The person that never listens to another person's point of view because that other person is clearly an idiot. That used to be me. So how did I become this little monster? The one that instilled terror in everyone she approached. Perhaps, planning some kind of sneak attack judgment? Well, you see, slides are turning. You see, when I was younger, I was tall and pretty, but I felt small and ugly. I was scared of the world around me. And I decided that if I wasn't gonna beat him, if I was gonna join him, I was gonna beat him in a battle of the brains. Now I realize that was middle school and everybody felt that way. But I didn't let it stop me. I made it my mission to know all I could about everything in order to feel confident and feel good. And it worked. And I was really, really good at it. And fast forward 10 years later, when I entered the corporate world, I got some pretty awesome, glamorous jobs. And with those jobs came some pretty crazy boss ladies. I mean, the craziest of the crazy. And I watched and worked with these women who were running hundreds of millions of dollars in businesses, make terrible decisions over and over again. And it was baffling. I couldn't understand why. And not only were they making bad decisions, but they were doing it in the most bombastic manner. It was ugly and it was scary. And I was genuinely scared when one crazy boss lady went into her office, slammed the door, and started pounding on her glass desk because she didn't get her own way. And then one magical day, I met Andrea. I had the honor of having this beautiful and brilliant woman as my boss and leader for a short while. And I knew she was special. From the first moment, she said, "I don't know, Claudia, what do you think?" At first, I thought it was some really weird test. And then I thought, do they pay people for asking other people for the answers? But I latched on to this know-it-all woman, like an obsessed girlfriend, wanting to learn everything I could from her. And to this day, Andrea is still one of the best leaders I've ever encountered in my entire life. And then another magical day, I had the opportunity to escort Facebook Sheryl Sandberg to speak at an event. And before she went up to give her speech, she applied her lipstick. She looked at me and said, "Do I look okay?" And that same warm and fuzzy feeling I got from Andrea came over me again. And I realized that it was because this woman had the wisdom to ask me a question that only I knew the answer to, whether or not she had red lipstick all over her teeth for the press corps to see. And this wise question asking is the secret to her success as a leader. And then one day I became the leader. I was running my own business, yet I still felt like I had to fake it. My mantra was fake it till you make it. And I was faking it all the time, saying definitely. And I really didn't know. And absolutely not when it might have been possible, I just kind of wasn't sure. And I was so afraid that someone was going to find out that I had been playing dress up all along. Do you know how exhausting it is to try to convince someone of something that you don't know because you're deathly afraid that they're going to find out you have no idea? I mean, seriously, I should have gone into politics. And I know what you're thinking. I was lying. And worst of all, I was lying to myself. But what is it about our culture that promotes this know-it-all, never ask for help attitude? What is it that separates the Andres and the Sheryls from the know-it-alls? What is it that motivates people to just run forward blindly in this aggressive manner, scorching the earth in front of them? Know-it-alls isolate themselves. They rarely look to others, especially those below them, for the answers that really might make their businesses work. I mean, the President of the United States has an entire team of people dedicated to helping him make good decisions. But these people just keep charging forward. And it's not that they're delusional and honestly think that they have the answer to every question in the universe. No, they're just petrified. They're petrified that someone's going to find them out and think that they're not smart enough, think that they're weak, and lose their power. And I'm pretty sure it's how Mussolini, Castro, and even that Bin Laden guy felt. And it's a particularly tough issue for us women. Why? Well, if I were to stand up and say, "I don't know, can you help me?" that could potentially be undoing decades of hard work for equality. And that's why there are so many bitches at the top of the corporate food chain. Let's change this. Know Nothings, on the other hand, they're calm, cool, collected, they sit back and they gather data, and their employees love them. They want to help them. They want to see them succeed. And ironically, they usually know the answer. They just don't need to tell everybody. So I decided to quit. I quit being a know-it-all and I changed my mantra to "I know nothing." And it felt good, and I was free, and I dropped those definitely's and absolutely nots. And it was powerful. I gained the power to sit back and observe. I moved from being a stalwart defender to being a student. I observed and I learned. And it's amazing what you can see when you close your mouth and open your eyes. I allowed myself the opportunity to say, I don't know, but I will find out. Because when we know something, we're automatically closing ourselves off to the opportunity of what could be. Imagine if the entire world knew nothing. Imagine the possibilities. And I became a better leader over time. I became a better daughter, a better sister. I became a better friend. And this self, this new self that knew nothing, I liked this self even more. Because after all, nobody likes to know it all.
Yes, right. So that was Claudia. How amazing she is. So now I'm going to open a Q&A session. Does anyone have a question for Claudia? Not yet.
You can ask me about the music video too.
Actually, yeah, what did you actually do in this music video? You were so embarrassed to tell me this morning.
It was a total setup.
It was a total setup.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought I was just helping a friend do some sketches for something, and it ended up that I'm actually singing in this animated video, which is totally humiliating. So please don't watch it ever.
I'm not sure if Johnny here, but if he's here, please share the link to us. Any questions? Oh, yeah. I will repeat the question. How did you end up meeting Cheryl?
Okay, so Cheryl has no idea who I am, just to put the record straight. But I was working for an amazing nonprofit called Women for Women International, and she was the honorary speaker for our big gala event. And so I escorted her, I got to escort Bill Clinton, and a lot of other famous people who still have no idea who I am.
Well, a lot of people in Ubud know you, so that's good. Right, thank you, Claudia. Actually, okay. Well, Steve, do you want to ask something?
I do. I want to ask you a question before we get down.
Sure.
As somebody who, as everybody who knows me knows, I freely admit to knowing nothing all the time.
Yeah.
If you've hit that point yourself, that kind of, let's say, level of awareness about the power of letting go of having to know everything all the time,
Yeah.
does it make you feel uncomfortable, or how does it make you feel to be around people when they are knowing it all?
I am so off the hook. Like, I can sit back and relax while other people sweat. And sometimes I do have the answer, and then when I do speak, I find that, you know, depending on how much I know someone, they know that when I talk, I'm not being full of shit, basically. Like, I actually have an answer, that's why I'm speaking up and not trying to fill the room with hot air like a lot of people do.
Thank you, Claudia. So our second speaker is Jeni Kardinal. If you want to come on stage. Applause, people. So Jeni Kardinal is a licensed architect with a keen interest in sustainable architecture and design. Jeni and her husband and daughter moved to Bali in 2008 for a project. During that time, she researched about building with straw and felt strongly it could actually work in Bali. After she found funding support through Rotary, she built the first registered straw building in Indonesia, which located in Nawakerti in Karangasem, Bali. Rewriting the famous Three Little Pig stories, here she is, Jeni Kardinal.
I'd like to tell a story about three Bali little pigs. Wayan, Yeoman, and Kadek, of course. A tale of building houses of bricks and straw and twigs. Wayan built a house of brick. He read it to be strong, but in the plot they got it wrong. Bali was their home, because here in Indonesia, in places with earthquakes, those cinder blocks with all those rocks are really big mistakes. When Yeoman thought he tried to build a house of wood, but when the quake began to shake, he really understood. It tumbled down upon the ground and flip-flopped over upside down. Then he saw a frightful sight. The termites ate a mighty bite. Kadek's a poor rice farmer. There's plenty of straw here. All we do is burn it, sending carbon in the air. It's hard to breathe, it hurts my eyes, much pollution in the sky. Is there a way to build with hay? They had a family meeting and met with the Banjar. Just look it up upon the net, much information you can get. They surfed and surfed their Bali pigs to see what they could find. So many facts I'll share with you that really blew their mind. The oldest building to this day was built in the old USA with only straw, not mixed with clay. 'Twas built upon the prairies with only horse-drawn sleighs. They stacked up all their walls with bales that made from hay. They took a straw bale building and gave it to a lab. They set that little fella right upon a slab. It shook and jolted side to side while Darcy waited with great pride. And when the shaking was complete, the straw building withstood defeat. Well, let's just see if it can be building in with humidity. We gathered straw and made a bale and read upon the meter's scale. Below the limit it did read. This meant we really could succeed. But first in Bali one must make a ceremony to this date. The site was blessed, the spirits shined, all evils here were now declined. All would be safe to come within. This straw building could now begin. So how to get a bale when there's none in Bali that's for sale? We designed a manual press, you see, and made a box with lever, built by craftsmen locally who are so very clever. It's not as hard as you might think. 10 minutes and a bale's complete. It's nice to know the straw's no good for anything to eat. Bamboo's the thing we had to learn, this super way to treat. We heard it from a Frenchman, boucherie's the way. No need to soak it in a bath or wait for several days. One important factor when making walls with straw, it's really very helpful to make foundations tall. The top of our foundation, upon it we did set a coat of rubber paint. Our bales must not get wet. When making walls, just stack them tall. It's like a giant brick. Staggering the courses is just a simple trick. We pin the bales with bamboo strips, 2 pair for every bale. This helps the building to resist a shaking and a gale. It's good to keep in mind when planning your design. Overhangs will save your plaster, protect it from monsoon's disaster. A traditional vent, without a doubt, lets the rising hot air out. Doors and shutters, in you go, pegged with wooden dowels, using local fishing nets discarded from corrals. Each and every corner, the nets help hold the shape. Rounded, softened edges, the building's looking great. And here's the best part of it all, it's smearing plaster on the walls. We mix it up and make a batch, black sand, volcano ash, clay that's dug from underground, and dirt nearby that's laying round. But that's not all we have for you. Chopped up straw and rice husk too, and smelly, slimy, greenish goo. That's cactus juice, but not to drink. It's sat for days. It's begun to stink. It helps the plaster stick together, resisting Bali's rainy weather. When it dries, you start again. 3 coats of plaster till the end. This earth and clay, it dries real slow, but it's the natural way to go. Just remember, in the plaster, don't add cement or else disaster. It traps the moisture in the bale, causing rot, so it might fail. And if you want to show your friends what hides inside the walls, just open up the shutters. It's really made with straw. It's called a truth window and typical to find. Inside straw bale buildings, there's nothing here to hide. These Bali pigs, they got it right. Their story told is out of sight. Those English pigs, they had it wrong, because straw bale buildings are really strong. And special thanks to Rotary, the building now is done, teaching to build sustainably. A grassroots movement has begun.
We have a rhymes, how do you call it? Couplet? Is it a couplet? Yeah, it actually rhymes. Because before we had a guy who was rapping, a woman who sang, and this time, so I'm excited about the next PECHA KUCHA. I challenge you guys. Right, so I actually have a question. I heard a couple of weeks ago you've been featured in a magazine. Can you tell a bit about that? You actually have the magazine. It's not scripted at all.
It's in this month's issue of Exotic magazine. There's a 6-page feature, and it's also digitally accessible with Exotic magazine. So I'm really pleased about that.
Do you have a question, Sierra?
Have there been any earthquakes?
I will repeat the question. So has there been any earthquakes?
In Bali, since the building's been built, there's been a small earthquake, and we didn't have any cracks from that. But the test with the earthquake test, they really only got cracks in the plaster, and the building stood strong. So it does really well in earthquakes.
All right, thank you. We have another question. Oh, maybe that guy first. How is this compared to other costs of building?
Generally, where labor costs are low, this type of building is very possible to do quite affordably. Where labor costs are high in certain countries, it's actually an expensive material to use. At this point, for this building, our grant was for $16,800, and we did a full building, a bathroom building, and they're making a second building now in the village. So I think that's pretty good.
I think last question from there. Is there any problem with fire? Doesn't it heat up?
Yeah, this is another one of these things people are concerned about, but actually it's very difficult to burn straw, especially when it's compressed. And what you see in the fields, you don't usually see big flames, you see smoldering and smoke. It's difficult to start the straw on fire. They've done flame tests to get it into the building code. They're building codes for straw bale buildings, and they've done flame tests. And the building actually has a rating, a fire rating of a 1-hour wall, which is exceptional for straw bale buildings.
All right. Thank you, Jeni Kardinal. All right. I'm excited for the next speaker. Please come on stage, Lydia Lee. So, Lydia Lee. Lydia Lee is the founder of Screw the Cubicle. She recasts unfulfilled corporate prisoners as first-time entrepreneurs. Lydia believes you don't have to wait for retirement to enjoy life. A trained true purpose coach and business strategist, she develops awesome online business ideas that align with her clients' passions and strengths. Please help me to welcome Screw the Cubicle founder and Turn Point's 9 to Thrive coach, Lydia Lee.
You're going to die. Yep, I'm sorry to tell you that all that green juice and colonics and whatever else you've been putting up your butt lately isn't going to help you bypass this. You're going to die. This was the thought that came over my head as I laid face down on a tacky carpeted hotel room in Russia about 4 years ago. And I hadn't been kidnapped or tortured by the Russian mafia. I had an emotional breakdown, aka losing my shit in the middle of a business trip that changed the course of my life. And maybe it was the exhaustion or the jet lag, or maybe it was the fact that I've been living out of hotel rooms for my job, but I couldn't shake off that nagging feeling that I was wasting my life. And I thought I did everything right. I went to university, I did the internships, I climbed my way up. And I was rewarded with a 6-figure job, that shiny pension plan, of course, the picket fence home, and financial stability. Basically everything that would make my Asian immigrant parents really, really proud. I climbed the corporate ladder and the view just wasn't what I was expecting. I was basically spending the best years of my life working 60 hours a week, barely taking a vacation every year, and basically chasing after that dollar bill that wasn't buying me anything more meaningful or valuable in my life. And, thinking about death forces us to acknowledge if whether everything we've been doing in life has been leading us to a life experience that we can be proud of. And so when that initial thought of, you're going to die, Lydia, when that came over me, well, that forced me to question whether or not my most precious commodity of time was actually being spent on things that brought me joy. And most of us don't want to waste the rest of our lives rotting in an office. Conventional careers restrict us literally and figuratively. It prevents us from stretching that most creative part of ourselves because we're too busy conforming to that mold of what we have to do to get to that next paycheck. But we cannot avoid work. In fact, we are programmed to want to work and change the world around us. And getting rich isn't enough for most people. That's why wealthy people get into philanthropy, and entrepreneurs, well, they rarely stop at just one business. And that is because we are innately driven and motivated by progress and a sense of purpose. So if we cannot avoid work, could we then choose to use work as an expression of who we are? To gain freedom by having the freedom to create, and gain rewards far larger than money with the impact of the work that we choose to do. So I soon realized that the vehicle that allowed me most of these types of freedoms was through entrepreneurship. And yeah, when you're your own boss, you gotta tell yourself when you want to wake up every day, if you felt like putting underwear on for the day, I'm wearing some, and how hard you want to work, depending on how much money you want to make. But I also realized that it can be more than that. Because freedom alone isn't enough if we don't know what to do with it. And I sure as hell know that freedom to be on my couch all day wasn't what I was looking for either. So if we're trying to find freedom out of the conventional way of working, where can we start? And the key that I believe in is to find the type of work and a way of working that feels authentically aligned with who you are. And that way you don't have to deal with that sticky, uncomfortable feeling of having to remove the mask between that work you and the real you. And of course, it's hard for us to see this identity. Besides, when we have these labels given to us by society and our employers, our families, our friends, it's really hard to see beyond that. And so what we have to do really is try to really move beyond the fear and look and see what we can create for ourselves. Because being if you're an accountant, a lawyer, or a doctor, those guidelines are given to you. And being an entrepreneur and a creator, there's no template for this. And so if you want to try to find work and only be motivated by financial gain, it will guarantee you an uphill climb to basically be efforting and not enjoying the process where you should be with work. But if you choose to use your work as an expression of service, leading with your best skills and solving problems that you can actually be passionate about, well, that's going to instill a sense of mission in your life. And so how do we find work that could feel passionate, right? That elusive passion. Well, when I work with people, I try to encourage them instead to follow their nose. Down the rabbit hole of curiosity, because curiosity is the fuel and the instigator that then lights the flame for passion, which then leads you to creative expression and ideas. And when you're curious about what you're doing, it isn't going to feel like work. So entrepreneurs and unconventional careerists, they never give up on curiosity. From Tim Ferriss, who made a name for himself with life hacking and experimentation, to Richard Branson, who actually said that curiosity drives him to do better each day. Entrepreneurs are curious. They're curious about the world, and they're curious about how they can change it. And curious people, well, they're successful because they're always plugged into what they're doing. They aren't struggling to keep up with some sort of like treadmill existence that someone else created for them. And they're free to explore their curiosity and therefore lead them to much more passionate ventures. And you are allowed to have more than one passion in your life, despite what they've told you in school. And passion, the other thing, is that it doesn't really show up at your door, knock on your door and say, I'm here, let's boogie. It's a relationship you have to cultivate. And just like every other relationship you have in your life, it requires your attention, your focus, and your commitment. So start having a relationship with passion simply by playing and experimenting with ideas that you're already curious about. So I want to ask you a question today. What are you curious about? What conversations are you already having and often? And what frustrates you about the world that you want to help solve? And how can you utilize your best strengths and what you know as a human to help in the solving of it? And usually with these curiosities, it leads us to the questions of our human nature. Why do we want to do what we do? Why do we want to wake up in the morning? And why do we exist? And why the hell should people care? And it helps us to focus on how we're being in our lives rather than doing. Because we are human beings after all, not human doings. So these questions can seem quite scary, but the alternative of never knowing your full potential in the time that you have here, I think that seems scary, doesn't it? And so when you can start answering some of these questions, you can then be free from that nagging feeling, just like I had, whether or not you've been wasting your life. And then you can have the freedom to choose the very best version of your very own. Thank you. I'm sorry. You know I rant a lot. I don't know why I did this.
So you're gonna have to buy everyone here a drink.
I do. Yeah. I got free tickets. It's fine.
Right. Right. Any question? Yeah.
What are you most curious about?
What are you most curious about?
Right now, at this moment, I'm really curious about failing, actually. Because being raised in like a typical type A Asian family, this is not part of the mantra. So being able to fail and not feel like a failure, that's kind of been my latest experiment and curiosity. Yeah.
Oh, I can't see, but yeah. What do you think about entrepreneurs?
They're kick-ass. Well, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. But I think if you have a sense of being a creator, and you kind of know, I think entrepreneurs know that they don't like being told what to do, and they're pretty rebellious. I think you're pretty much, you can learn it, but I think there's an innate natural instinct that you'll have. Yeah. You should be an entrepreneur, little girl. Keep playing. Don't go to school.
One last question.
What motivates you to put your pants on in the morning?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What motivates you to put your pants on in the morning?
Oh, I can't hear. Can anyone?
Oh, what motivates me to put my pants on? Well, who said I wore pants? You know, it changes all the time, and you know, I moved from Vancouver about 2 years ago, and I bought a one-way ticket. I thought I would come back home after 6 months, and I never did. Thank God I sold everything. And I guess what motivates me is now, you know, the reason that I'm here, you know, and so everything that I do is about choice, and I think the value, I would any day exchange money for the value of choice, to be able to wake up and say, I don't feel like working today, I want to take my scooter out and go somewhere and go buck wild. I can do that, and I think that's something I haven't experienced for a long time, and that's probably my own personal motivation of, you know, doing what I'm doing, to keep myself out here anyway.
Actually, I have one last question. I know it's
Is it yours?
That is mine, the host. What made you come to Bali?
You know, I came here by accident because I was here to write a course, like I was writing a course, and someone said, "Oh, you should go to Ubud. It's always the whole eat, pray, love thing," and I almost vomited because I hate eat, pray, love. But I said, yeah, it's a place for me to keep quiet and eat good food. And then I fell in love with it, probably because I finally went to Hubud. Where's Steve? I refused to go in there because I still thought it was kind of like masked as a bamboo cubicle. I'm like, I can't do this. But, you know, Hubud is a great place, and it was really good for me to see other people and feel like I wasn't just going to do yoga all day. And there's actually, you know, a place for me to be creative and meet other people. So it's my community now.
Thank you, Lydia.
And everyone should join Hubud.
We actually do have a yoga class. Oh! We do actually have a yoga class tomorrow at 8 at Hubud if you want to come. I tried my first one, finally in my life, last week. It was, yeah. Not really in the wood yet. Alright. Are you guys still excited? Yay! It's not really loud. Can I? Are you guys really excited? Yay! So, the next speaker is a talented Rizal Abdulhadi. Come on stage, please give it applause. Right. Rizal is a talented multi-instrumentalist songwriter and social activist from West Java. He dedicates his music to struggle for real change towards a more creative Indonesia. He creates his own instrument made out of bamboo, which he will tell more about it later. Rizal has made waves on the international music scene. He has twice toured Australia. He's performed in Woodford Folk Festival 2013, 2014. He was also invited to be guest speaker at TEDx Ubud last year. And yeah, a lot of achievement. Please help me to welcome Rizal Abdulhadi.
So how are you guys? Good today? Well, I can't speak English really well actually, but I try my best. Harusnya begitu ya, but alright, well, this is me now with my instrument, my invented instrument. I call it Andrea because I never seen this instrument like this before, and then so this instrument actually combining between the guitars, didgeridoo, and percussion. And then this is my childhood when I was. My village is surrounded by rice fields, so rice fields always become my inspiration for making music like that. Yeah, yeah. This is my childhood, which is because I'm coming from small village, and then my family also is not much. I mean, our whole family is just like a simple life, which is so we don't have access to buy toys like from toy shop actually. So then we make own toys, which is for me it's good beginning because that's my creative growth from that. And also, yeah, all the young people, they always always learning traditional instrument, and I'm pretty lucky also because my village where I come from, West Java, is mostly from bamboo, so that's also why I make instrument from bamboo. Okay. Yeah, and then because I love kids so much, because I know the power of creativity is kids because they're always wild and always have a lot of imagination. So I'm always share with them to make a song or sing together or teach them how to make music or something like that, which is much fun. And better for kids to not watching television all the time. And also as I'm a musician also, I think music is not only performance or entertain, also music is message or you give something to people. And then this is my concert when I was helping in Sumatra, where I was helping one school and the government tried to destroy the school because they want to become want to build a hotel. And then the government take all the stuff and then something like that. So I make a concert to collect the money. And in 2012, I met with this girl. She's amazing artist, so creative from Australia. Her name is Eslahpazir. And then we are same concept of art. We have same energy to make a lot of projects together. Then that time, we visit the small village in West Java called Jati Tujuh, and then they have really old communities born since start since 1986, and then they still make art and things like that. And whole village is just all like community creative, and then but they doesn't have a house to like art space. something like that, or like house. And then so me and Ellie decide to make a fundraising, which is I'm gonna make concert, and then she have art exhibition, and the money goes to build this house for the people of whole village. So then the house is still work till now. They always make a festival, always make every day they come to learn art or something like that. And this is when I was, and then after that project, I have opportunity to travel around Southeast Asia for my tour. And then this is part of my tour. I'm also not only playing music, but also making workshop, which is, this is workshop. I'm making instrument from rubbish or junk with everyone in, share the knowledge. Also, my concert, the money from my concert goes to, for workshop and orphanage around Kuala Lumpur, around Malaysia. So this is orphanage, and then Ellie making art with the t-shirt, and then the t-shirt we give to all the orphanage. And then I'm also doing workshop writing song together, which is like this. For example, every single kids they give me one word, and then we put in the whiteboard. And then for example, some people said flowers, environment, and dog, and thing like that, and we make together. So this song goes like this: about the flowers we have tree, in the sky we have rainbow, about the forest we have mountain. Our heart is full of happiness, something like that. So, I mean, that's for 30 minutes we make a song. So you can imagine every single orphanage you have one song. And then this is when I was artist residency in Singapore, Singapore Independent Archive and Resource Center. And then I find really broken contrabass, which is like no one used. And then I tune contrabass become the new instrument called bass duduk. Duduk means sit, yeah, so playing bass. Anyway, so this is my invented instrument. It's called Rasendria, which is combining between didgeridoo and percussion and guitars, because I'm traveling with a lot of stuff with guitars and DJ and things so heavy for my luggage because I don't have much money, so I've just become combining all of them to be one instrument, so easy to carry. And then because this guy inspired me to play music more. His name is Xavier from Australia. I know many people knows this guy. And then my dreams come true. I meet with him, and then I give. He's the first people who have my instrument, which is I give to him because he's my inspiration. So I make a lap steel guitar for him, and he'll love it so much. So happy. And this is also, I'm not only playing on the stage or festival, also I'm just playing on the street, which is basking. Actually, I'm to survive my traveling because I need more money, so I do basking but actually also share to people. So not only on the stage, but people also meet with on the street, and I feel they appreciate more from people too. And then after Australia, I'm come back to Bali again, and then I have invitation from green school to give a workshop. And so 12 kids, a workshop 4 days workshop in green school to make bamboo instrument. And then after 4 days, all kids have one instrument, which is bamboo instrument. And then also, I'm quite lucky because my TED Talks video get playlist 3 totally weird and wonderful TEDx musical performance. I said, I think I'm not weird, hey, I'm alright, but people said I'm weird. So anyway, I don't know, probably my instrument. And then in April or May, I forget, and then Hello Bali magazine come and talk with me about, they try to find people who have a cool story this is, but I don't know, and I just tell them like blah 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 blah, and then I'm so grateful, I'm pretty lucky I get one of 20 inspirator Bali who make Bali better place. And then this picture is my last concert in this place. I play 15 different instruments, so during my solo show I play 15 different instruments, and also that's part of my dream. And so thank you betelNut for that. And thank you guys so much. I love you guys, thank you.
Good. Anyone has a question for Rizal? Oh, yeah?
Schedule. Schedule, not really, but I have performance on Friday just next door, Barluna, this Friday, and I have another gigs at Bali Bohemia Sunday night for extraordinary music night, I said like that, on Sunday at Bali Bohemia next to Monkey Forest. Thank you. I hope I can see you again there.
What time?
What time? Always 7:30 or 8. Yeah, every night. So Friday and Sunday. Thank you.
Anyone has a question before? Yeah, here?
Sorry for
Can you play?
okay, I'm not bring instrument, but I have one instrument I'm always carrying everywhere, so I can show you. This. Yeah, normally I'm always have a lot of instruments, but this instrument I'm always carrying everywhere with me, which is the same as photo before. This instrument called karinding, which is why in my village make this instrument. This instrument for agriculture. So because we doesn't want to kill animals, so with this instrument animal goes away because this instrument have a supersonic sound. So this sound goes like this. Also I can make fun like this. Just a little bit. Starting next week, I'm gonna launching my new company called That Bamboo. Same as like this, my glasses I made with my hand, like this bamboo glasses. So keep in touch.
Alright then, thank you, Rizal. Right, our next speaker is actually a special performance. It's a special dance performance by Steve Monroe. He's getting ready now. Right, Steve, your stage.
Okay, I offered to dance, I swear to God, but he said if he doesn't, if I do it, he's going to quit tomorrow, so I won't. I just want to say, I think we've been doing this for a long time now. My name is Steve, I'm one of the co-founders at Hubud, and we started doing PECHA KUCHA at Ubud, I guess about 3.5 years ago, about a year before Hubud ever opened. And we did it as a way, like we just thought it was a really great way to bring people together. There wasn't enough of this kind of stuff in Ubud, but also as a way to showcase the incredible, talented community we have. So I just want to say I've been out of 25, probably to 23 PECHA KUCHA events, and I think that was like one of the best, if not the best, first halves I have ever seen. I'm serious. Very, very good. Congratulations, everybody. And one other person I want to give a shout out to is a guy that I met about 1.5 years ago. He was a little timid. You know, you could know there was something a little special about him, but he was really, really shy, and he would kind of stammer when he talked. And he had this like quirky style. He showed up, he gave a CV, and it had a bow tie on it. And you're like, who does a bow tie at 23 or whatever he was? And we offered him a job to do some event planning, and we said, listen, you're gonna have to do some public speaking. How do you feel about that? He said, not very good. And so his first Bali Bungkus, which is an event we hold every Thursday at Hubud, we said, come on, go on, introduce it. And it was like a 10-second intro. He said, hi, my name is, my name is Vito. So, if we are in the business of supporting amazingness, I just wanted to shout out that now he's the party guy in Ubud Invasion. If your neighborhood is getting trashed, you can't sleep during the day, it's his fault. He's rocking PECHA KUCHA. Yeah. Well done. And I want to see that bow tie sometime later. Come on. Okay, I usually just get up and kind of give an update about what's going on at Hubud. I'll just keep it really short. Part of what we started to do when we started Hubud was essentially create a community space. I don't know what we thought it would be when we opened it. It has turned into definitely something far beyond what we expected, if I'm very honest. And it's just been a really, really amazing community. But it came out of this thing that here there were a lot of people that were looking for a way to do work differently. Maybe they weren't sure what that was. But a lot of people that showed up and they're like, well, you know, I had this job and I left it and I don't really know what I want to do. It's like, yeah, get in line. So it was certainly my story. I moved to Bali 6.5 years ago, and that was me. I showed up, I was like kind of this corporate escapee, we call them cubicle refugees, things like this, and I showed up and I'm loving Bali and I'm like, I just don't know what I want to be for my life, right? And that process took quite a long time, and a lot of it's been inspired by the inspiring people we've met along the way. One of the things we started about 6 months ago was an education component to Hubud. We've always had tons of events. We do about 30 free events per month. We're a little bit mad like that. But we started kind of more in-depth courses, and one of them was like what I consider the kind of core course, the soul of turning point in people's lives, which is the education wing, which is called 9 to Thrive, which is either very clever or very cheesy title, one or the other. But it's essentially about helping people navigate that decision-making process. So we do that almost every month. The next one's coming up in 2 weeks. If you're interested, the course instructor and our partner in it is Lydia who's the third speaker. You heard what she had to say, so you can kind of figure out why we decided to partner together on that. A few other courses we have coming up. Becoming a Freelance Ninja is a 2-day workshop for people that are striking out on their own, and a digital marketing masterclass. We've run this several times. We're going to rename it because really it's not a masterclass. We're kind of pulling this one down for people that are starting their own business, striking out on their own, and want that help to get their digital presence sorted. And big events at Hubud, do we have any coming up? I think we got one. Okay, Startup Weekend. Was anybody at Startup Weekend last year? One person. That's because they've all gone to Silicon Valley and had successful, we're waiting for our kickbacks. So Startup Weekend is a global event. It's held in something like ridiculous, like 350 cities worldwide. It is unbelievably fun. If you're into entrepreneurship at all, you should definitely come. I'm looking to see you there. It's a 54-hour event. So it starts on Friday night. There's this crazy mosh in terms of how people pitch ideas. People form teams around those ideas. They get started, they execute until Sunday night when they pitch to the crowd and to investors. It's 54 hours of madness. It's so much fun. So if you're into entrepreneurship and want to check it out, it's one of the best events we'll do all year. And I think that's kind of all I have to say. If you want to connect, that's how you do it. You can find us. Thank you very much. And 25. I mean, unbelievable. Thank you.
I want you to stay here first. So yesterday it was Steve's birthday. How old are you now?
I'm 38 years old. I was going to lie and say 21. I'm just going to stand up, be me. I'm 38, as of yesterday.
So I just want you guys to sing happy birthday with me really quick. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Vito's dead.
Happy birthday, dear Stephen. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Okay, I might need another job after this. But
In a different town.
so another island. Right. So our next speaker is Soraya Petzoldt. Soraya, so Soraya is an emerging visual artist and filmmaker from the Netherlands. She arrived in Bali to make her graduation documentary. With her inquisitive mind, she is constantly looking for new ways to express and project the magic of her surroundings. Get ready to see some unity. Please give a big applause to Soraya Petzoldt.
So that's me naked. I just start with that, and I think if I didn't have anybody's attention, I would definitely have it now. So, how did I actually came to this point where I'm showing myself and exposing my most vulnerable parts in front of such a big audience? I asked myself that question when I was said yes to doing this talk, and I hope at the end of the talk you guys have an answer, and I also have an answer. First, I want to tell a little bit more about myself. I study in Holland, and I came here to do my graduation project, which is making a documentary about sustainable farming in prison, and I'm working together with the EDAP Foundation. So this is my work that I'm showing you tonight, and it's a work in progress. I had a really kind of like confrontation with myself, trying to put words behind my work because they actually want to speak for themselves. And when I shoot, I don't think of a concept. I just find moments and I find them strikingly beautiful and I want to capture them. I don't work with models, I don't direct the people who are in front of the camera. I just shoot and take photos of very intimate friends. Like this photo, or my sister who's sitting at the stairs and she's naked and we're talking, or a lover who's on his way to take a shower. So I come from Holland, which is a pretty liberal country, but still I find that there's so much taboo on nudity. And a friend of, because in Holland is, what I want to say is like, there's still a taboo on nudity because it's either porn or it's high fashion and it needs to meet very high beauty standards, or it's used for marketing. So a friend of mine, she wrote an article and she sent it to me after she saw my pictures, and it really aligned with what I want to reflect with my photos, so I want to quote a part of it. Despite self-loving, self-respect, we perceive our sexiness and we hang it up by shapes and parts, and we so what I'm trying to say is sexiness is kind of like a one-way thing. People get addicted to staging it in one way, and what I'm trying to do with my photos is kind of reflect another side. I want to reflect raw beauty. I don't want to see staged conditions photos, stage conditioned sexiness. I want to see raw beauty. I want to see somebody's essence and their pureness. So I also try to reflect that with the way that I edit my photos. I want to make them raw. I want to have the occasional blurriness in it because I want it to not be perfect. A friend once asked me, which is the body part you like the most about yourself? And I replied with my eyes. And then she asked, which body part do you like least about yourself? And I replied with my boobs. Why my boobs? Because when I compare them to the average tits shown in the media, they're kind of sagging. And yeah, here you go, comparing yourself to meeting standards of beauty. And actually standards are also kind of boring. So, this is actually the last photo, which is the photo that I took. After that, there are photos of people which I find inspiring. And they're either from Ubud or they're from outside. Hannah, which is actually taking photos today, she asked me one time, do you want to do a naked shoot with me being the model? And I said, no way, I'm not going to do that. And then I thought, well, that's really scary, and I like to do stuff that's really scary, like standing on stage here tonight. So I said yes. And if you would have asked me to the sauna a few months ago, I would have said, no, I don't want to be naked in front of so many people. But I did the photo shoot, and this is the photo that she took one of them. And during the process, I felt really ashamed. I felt awkward. I felt so exposed. And I still feel it now. But the thing is, after I looked at the pictures for a really long time, I kind of started accepting myself more, and I started embracing, which is actually, they're my boobs, they're out there, I should accept them, right? So, need to turn it around. That's also what I started doing when taking self-portraits. I wanted to keep on doing that progress of self-acceptance. And when I shoot, and I'm behind the camera, I love when that happens. I love when my friends actually see their own photos and they're like, shit, I didn't know I was so beautiful. They actually really say that to me, and I'm so proud that I kind of share what I see in them, and then take a photo, and then they see that, and they embrace their beauty, and they're more comfortable with being naked. And I know we're in Ubud, and there are, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of people are pretty comfortable with their nakedness and their body, and still I want to pledge for something. I want to pledge for getting herself more naked. I want to pledge for being more vulnerable, showing the part which makes us feel ashamed, showing our struggles, showing the parts that we prefer to keep in the dark, because those parts, they actually need the most love, attention, care, and those are the parts who really urge for the light. So let's expose them to the sun. Let's get them out there, and you will find it's liberating, it's healing, and it leads to freedom. And I'm too soon with my talk, but that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Soraya. That was really beautiful, actually. Not actually, it is beautiful. Anyone has a question?
I'm also involved in a photographic project that has to do with women's self-empowerment and getting to what the soul is really wanting to express and not be dictated by the constraints of what society thinks is beauty. In some of our shoots, we've already noticed that this culture has issues with nudity in particular places, and we're trying to reconcile that. I'm not really quite sure how to do that yet because I don't want to be deported, and neither do the other people on my team, you know? But at the same time, we'd like to kind of, just put forward the possibility that nudity is a beautiful thing and not something to be ashamed of, and yet not get in trouble with it, and also be respectful of the culture. For example, I was in the grocery store the other day, and there was this gorgeous woman from another country, and she was wearing short shorts that had half her butt hanging out, and she was about that tall. And I knew that wearing that in a grocery store in this country is not something that makes the people of Bali comfortable. So I'm wondering, how do you reconcile these kinds of issues?
Okay, how do you reconcile the issues in culture and here, especially in Bali?
So, yeah, what we're actually like stumbling upon is that we're in Indonesia and people are not really comfortable with nudity. There's like a lot of taboo, more than where most Western people are from. And we actually had a discussion about that last day because Hannah and I, we did the shoot and we were also standing beside a temple and there was a guy staring at my tits for 10 minutes. And then he said, like, I was like, it felt really weird, but then he was actually trying to say, like, don't be naked beside a temple, which is pretty fair, right? Yeah. So the photos I take, they're pretty much inside of my own house, so I don't offend anybody. But I think it's an interesting question. I don't have an answer to that, because I think you have to kind of like find the boundaries themselves. But on the other hand, a few decades ago, the women here were really happy with being naked. Yeah. So I just think we have to keep this discussion going and share the stuff that we're making and see where it leads.
One last short question.
I admire your courage to show up so long.
It admires you.
Thank
Your
you.
courage. One last one.
What's your opinion on feminist porn, and do you think it exists?
What is your opinion about feminism?
Feminist porn.
Feminist porn.
You have to explain me what feminist porn is. I have no idea.
There's an idea, I was involved in a project called FEC, and it's about women taking pictures of themselves, like they literally physically have to, they can't set it on auto, and it's this idea that if a woman takes a picture of herself for porn, it's the idea that if you take a picture of yourself for porn, then it's empowered, but it's still pornography, it's still sexualizing, and you're possibly still playing up to certain concepts of what a sexualized female body is. So your work is really, really stunning and very honest, and it's people can maybe take it sexually if they want to, but they don't have to. But do you have an opinion with your work on feminist porn or on porn in general, and do people ever ask you about your opinions? I'm just interested because, like, you know, you can feel comfortable being naked and somebody can say, oh, that's disgusting, it's pornographic, and obviously it's not to you, you're just naked.
Yeah. So the question you're asking is actually if I have an opinion about feminist porn. I don't have an opinion about that at all. I think everybody should do what they want to do. I just reflect the way that I see somebody. That's the only thing I can do. And if somebody else wants to be really pornographic, I kind of like that stuff sometimes too, if it has a message or if it's wanting to like kind of break a taboo, for example. Yeah, that's actually my answer, yeah.
Thank you, Soraya. Alright, now let's hear what the Balinese thinks, at least from the foreigner's point of view. We have Blaylock. Please come on stage. Applause, people. Originally from Hawaii, Jack has been in Bali for 31 years. He was in the handicraft business for many years and is fully integrated into Balinese life, culture, and religion. You probably know him as the admin of the Ubud community Facebook group, if you've already been there. Talking about how Balinese communicate with each other, let's give it up to Jack Blaylock.
Okay, that says Om Swastiastu, which means, may you be blessed with spiritual and mental health. It's written in an alphabet called Brahmi that's from South India. You'll see this over the doors of many Balinese houses, and it's a common greeting. The Balinese language, coming after that, here's an example of it, Rahajamuni. It means good evening. And we tend to think that the Balinese language is the mother tongue of the Balinese, but it's not. Not from my point of view. The mother tongue of the Balinese is allusion, metaphor, and innuendo. It's subtle hint dropping. The real language that the Balinese uses is, will you please take my hint and get it? As an example of allusion, metaphor, and innuendo, you used in a humorous way, slow dong dick. Uh-oh, I should have slowed down. No, hang on. Say that fast, say that quickly. Slow down, dickhead. Okay, now here's an example of how this can go wrong. Here's Peter who's saying to himself, why didn't Wyan tell me my dogs were barking at the neighbor's chickens, for God's sake? Does he know how much grief that caused me, not knowing? Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't Wyan tell me? And Wyan's point of view is, don't these tourists ever get it? I told him 4 freaking times about the barking dogs. This happens to all of us on a daily basis. If there's one message I could want to give you, it would be that. This is a cool. It's got that big hollow log on the top of it, and it goes tock, 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 tock. If you hear that sound, it means your house is probably on fire, or somebody's house is on fire, or another emergency in the village. It's called a cool. Different ways of banging that thing communicates a different message. Now this is up close. If you should ever be in a village and you hear this sound, talk, 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 it means somebody's died. There's a different set of codes for different parts of the island. Now, this is the smallest of Balinese offerings. Somebody using a Balinese offering is communicating. It's a communication device. What they're saying, please protect me. There's 3 different sizes of offerings, generally speaking. There's small, medium, and large. And generally speaking, the recipients of the small, medium, and large offerings can be roughly divided into 3 categories. That would be beings that are not as evolved as a human, beings that are roughly as evolved as a human or deceased humans, and then beings that are more evolved than a human. At the top of the pile is Sangyang Widi, and I'm sure most of you heard that word, but there's no temple in Bali devoted to him. Most Balinese never think of Sangyang Widi, except, here's an example. He is saying, may my thoughts be spiritually sharp and pure. This is the day they put offerings on your motorbikes and everything, but originally, it was given to sharp tools to symbolize that. This is a family temple, and they're using the offerings in this temple basically to say, hey, dead relatives, everybody, come on in to my living room. A Balinese family temple is a living room for the deceased relatives. Now, I know all this because I have been practicing and participating in a Balinese family for many years. I'm never going to be a Balinese. I know that. But one day, my mother took me into that temple behind there. She's right here in one of these photos somewhere. There she is. She took me into the temple and introduced me to her dead relatives as her adopted son. And since that day, I have been communicating with my newly required adopted dead relatives. This, most of you are familiar with, and we think that a cremation takes place like this. You put the body in that thing, and then you burn it up until there's nothing left but ashes, and then they do something else with the ashes. But that does not happen everywhere. In my village, they bury you first for a while, and then they dig you up, but they don't dig your body up, they just dig representative handfuls of dirt up. And that's what they burn. And the whole time this is going on, there's rituals that we all do. And every ritual is a communication device. This is one. The rituals surrounding a Balinese death are to communicate to the dead person, you are no longer dead grandma, or uncle, or cousin. You are now in that category of spirits that are our family members. This is the latest communication device of the Balinese. I don't know where this is leading us. I'm scared. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of Balinese that are scared too. But where it's going to go, well, if we want to help, one thing we can do is learn to speak their language. After all, they're making a good attempt to learn how to speak English. Start with Bahasa Indonesia. There's a good school up the road for that called Cinta Bahasa, and thank you very much.
That was really educative. A lot of things that I also don't know, actually.
Right there?
Oh, right away, you just want a question. Right.
Many times I see a ceremony going on the junction of a road. I hear that something bad has happened and they're trying to fix it. So can you tell me more?
So many times he sees like a ceremony on the
junction of a road. And
what does it mean? Like,
well, that's not enough information for me to give you an answer I'm comfortable with. It could be one of many things. It could have been that there was an accident at that location. There's certain ceremonies, as in when they're carrying a dead body somewhere, at certain locations they spin around, and they might want to do that at an intersection to confuse the spirit that's in the body because they're trying to keep it from being stuck here as a ghost. I'm sorry, I know that's not a very satisfactory answer, but the Balinese are very complicated and they have many different ceremonies that they do. Even the information I gave you tonight about the 3 different sizes of offerings and the 3 different categories of beings was an extremely simplified version of what the truth is.
Lux?
John.
Yes?
You said you'll never be a Balinese?
That's what I said, yes.
So I'd like to know, who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Thank you for asking that. Honestly, the honest answer is, I kind of have an identity crisis that's been going on for several decades. A self-identity crisis, yeah, I don't know.
Appreciate who you are. Thank you.
One last question? Claudia.
Jack, you mentioned that you will never be Balinese. I don't know if you have children, but children of non-Balinese and Balinese parents, are they considered Balinese or are they not considered?
That is a very good question. I don't have children myself, but I'll really quickly tell you a story. My Balinese sister, who would be my sister, She married a French guy and they had a kid. And the first thing they did is they went to a Balinese psychic or paranormal, Balian as they're called, to find out which of the previously deceased family members from her side of the family had reincarnated back into the family. And during this moment, the Balian went into a trance, and it is claimed that the spirit of that newborn baby, not being able to talk in a little baby's body, went into the Balian and communicated to his new mommy and daddy that he was my Balinese sister's great aunt come back. So that's the only first-hand personal experience I have of your question. Thank you. Well, it was a Balinese, yeah. It was a Balinese great aunt who's now in a half Balinese, half Boule Bali. How cool is that?
Right, thank you, Jack. Just to let you know, if you guys are thirsty, the bar is open, so you can buy drinks there. And next speaker, Andrea Featherstone. It's gonna say.
My name this time. You got my name right.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Andrea Featherstone is straight up mindfulness coach, former pessimist, and a terrible gardener from New Zealand. Andrea runs Project Self and Bloody Good Life 101, a radically honest website and mindfulness coaching program teaching indecisive high achiever and perfectionist on how to calm their mind of, you make me say the F word now, mind of F down, so they can leap out of the rut. And also she gave advice on what to have for dinner. She accepted the offer to speak in front of 200 people just a couple of days ago, so please give a big applause to Andrea Featherstone.
This morning, I looked in the mirror and thought, damn it, this bra makes my boobs look small. And then I thought, no it doesn't, my boobs are small. I used to worry about this kind of stuff all the time. I worried that my hair was too curly, my skin too pasty, my freckles too plenty. So I lay in the sun until I was sunburnt, I ruined my sheets with fake tan. I scampered around like a chameleon trying to fit in and look perfect everywhere I went. I thought that if I looked attractive, then I would be happy. I thought that surely sexy people were happier than me, right? But nothing I did could change my internal dialogue of something. Of bollocks, I think I wrote. When I look back on photos of myself that completely hated myself, I wonder what on earth she was thinking. Back then I was also a terrible listener. When I was talking to someone, I was never listening to what they were saying because the voice in my head was too loud. It would be running a dialogue about what should I say, what were they going to say, was I being boring? So I couldn't hear anything they said. I was constantly being caught out when they asked me a question and I'd look at them blankly trying to work out what they'd said for the last 5 minutes. Yesterday, as I showered overlooking a rice paddy, getting ready for my day at work at Hubud on my dream job, I almost cried with happiness for how lucky I am. Then came the familiar voice I know to expect when things are going well. It won't last, he said. He said, you're mad to think you can have your raw, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free cake and eat it too. Living the dream is for other people. But this time, I caught him in the act, this little voice. Thanks, Neville, I said. I call my mind Neville because you can't take a Neville too seriously. Cheers for looking out for me, dude. I understand that you just don't want me to be disappointed, but I don't need your advice today, and thank you for your time. Recently, I started dating this babe, and he prefers it when I don't straighten my hair and don't wear makeup. When he looks at me, as I am, with no makeup and ridiculous hair, and tells me I'm beautiful, my mind says, what's wrong with his eyes? I recently went through a scenario in my mind the other day when I was on the Truman Show and people gathered around to laugh at me and say, ha, why on earth would you think that someone would love you as you are? This is not Bridget Jones's Diary. Don't be ridiculous. It's actually amazing what nastiness your mind can come up with when it's left unchecked. So you know that little voice that I'm talking about, right? That little voice that talks to you in your head. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll leave you silent for a couple of seconds and you'll hear it speak. If you still don't know what I'm on about, you probably just heard it say, what little voice? Thanks. These days I'm less conventionally attractive. My skin is pasty, my freckles are like join the dots, and my hair does what it wants. Recently, a taxi driver told me he thinks I look at least 10 years older than I am because, he gestured, so many lines. But I have never been more happy in my own freckly skin as I am now, no matter what my mind says to me, and it does still treat me quite badly. I care so comparatively little about what my mind says to me is that I recently decided that I'd do this mad PechaKucha thing before I even knew what it was, and I also went to ecstatic dance. My former self would never believe it. So this is it, right? The thing I quit my career in architecture for so I could teach it to other people. I started to learn about this voice in your head that we call our mind. If you imagine 10 cavemen, right, standing around some rocks, and they hear a rumble from behind the rocks, 5 of them run for it, and 5 of them stick around. This time it turns out to be a rabbit, so the brave guys mock the scaredy cat dudes, and they all have a laugh. As you can imagine, this happens frequently in the caveman world, and by Friday, there comes a noise and only 2 of the dudes run for it this time, right? So, this time out comes a tiger and he kills all the 8 dudes that didn't run away. So these 2 dudes that consistently ran away, they're the ones with the most anxious, negative thinking and worrying minds that always expect the worst. And those are the 2 dudes that survived evolution to give us our minds. This is what science calls the negativity bias. Our minds are literally wired to be anxious, negative, and overactive. They catastrophize incessantly and worry repeatedly. Our mind works in the way that our lungs breathe and our heart beats. It's just trying to keep us safe. Our mind is designed to be a simulator. It maps out future events and analyzes past events so it can keep us safe from all the tigers. The glitch is that in this busy day and age, our minds are getting out of control and they're malfunctioning. Our minds don't know the difference between real and perceived stress. So your boss asking you into their office has the same effect on your stress response as a hungry tiger. So the tigers we're now running from are the tigers that are in our mind. The mind is a powerful tool, but like all power tools, they can be more harmful than helpful when you don't know how to use them. At school, we're never taught how to harness this powerful tool we have, so many of us struggle with it for our whole lives, just as we would if we tried to use a jackhammer without knowing how to use it. So if we want to be happy and stress-free, we have to do just one thing. We have to become aware of the fact that there's this little voice in our mind and it's not us. Because if it was us, we wouldn't be able to hear it, because we must be the one that's listening. Some call this mindfulness. I call it Bloody Good Life 101. Call it what you will, it's life-changing. It's what we're all looking for. It's what all these people come to Ubud for. They're looking for it in their Lululemons and their Om Shantis and their raw vegan cheesecakes. But it turns out that that which we are looking for is that which is doing the looking.
Thank you, Andrea. People have any question? Andrew. What was the mind shifting? What was the trigger that changed you from being an architect into mindfulness? This is good.
I think I worked on a super yacht for a while I tried to escape architecture, and when you're super yachting you have to vacuum backwards and forwards on walls and ceilings for like all day, every day, and so I had to find a way to deal with my mind because it was going crazy in that time, and so it was a very good way to learn mindfulness because I really didn't have a choice.
All right. Other question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there an inner voice we can trust?
Is there an inner voice that we can trust?
Yes, I think there is, but it doesn't speak in language. So I teach my clients that your mind, anything you can hear, write, or say is in language, and that's your mind, because other animals don't have a mind because they don't have language. We're the only ones with a mind, prefrontal cortex, and so that which animals have, that they know how to, migrate when they migrate, and they just work shit out, don't they? They do that from a different feeling, which is maybe, scientists reckon now, it's the second brain, which is actually literally your gut feeling. So it's just that instinctual thing that does not have words. So when you shut your mind up, you can hear it better. That's the idea.
So do people in Ubud lie when they say that they hear spirit talking?
So the people in Ubud lie when they hear the spiritual talking?
Perhaps they have a feeling and they can translate it into words, because I think you can get something from your gut feeling and translate it through your mind, but if it comes through your mind, then it's probably bullshit. That's what I think.
Thank you, Andrea Featherstone. Right, we're almost coming to the end. Our last speaker is Nick Wood. So Nick Wood is the man behind Live Athletics podcast. Nick has interviewed some awesome people, and he would like to share a few of his takeaways and observations from getting up close and personal with extraordinary people. So he interviewed NBA champions, all-stars, Olympians, from top executive to actors, artists, singers, entrepreneurs, world travelers, world record holders, and perhaps Ubud yogis as well. So what's it like to be extraordinary? Let's give applause to Nick Wood.
I've always wondered what it was like to be extraordinary. The question fascinated me, perhaps haunted me. I wanted to know how I could be like that one day, what made them tick, what made them special. Lately, this has taken the form of me having a podcast. I interview people. I release 3 episodes a week. I've talked to some pretty amazing people, like Vito said. I've talked to NBA All-Stars, champions, top-level executives, world record holders, world travelers. You name it, in some field, I've probably interviewed someone like that at some point. They're amazing. They're people that you would say, wow, that person is spectacular. They say that about each other as well. And this is what ends up fascinating me. They say that about each other, but when it comes to themselves, they're not so sure. Again and again, when I interview people on my podcast, they say, hey, I looked at who you've interviewed. They're amazing. Why are you talking to me? And then the next person will say that about that person. And on along the line. These people wonder, like, why are they special? They're just them. It's like this next slide in reverse. It's like a lion looking into the mirror and seeing a kitten. Or kind of like the Wizard of Oz. They know what's behind the curtain. They're just human. They're not all powerful. People might say they're extraordinary, but they recognize all the work that's gone into it. So they don't identify with that term. I've interviewed both of these guys, and they would say that they're just ordinary guys. They worked really hard to get to the NBA, and they would say that some of the other players in the NBA, they are extraordinary. Those people. Even I felt it tonight. Right? This lineup here, they're musicians. These are amazing, polished people. They look great naked. They do pretty exciting things. And who am I here closing the night? I talk to amazing people. Right? So that feeling comes up, for sure. Right? So I've wondered about myself, about my guests. We keep pushing amazing, extraordinary away. Like, is our ego okay? But like Batman, we're okay. And Batman doesn't worry about being extraordinary. He's Batman. He's good, right? So if he's not worrying about that, what is he worried about? This is someone that I interviewed. His name is Michael McCassell. He started something called the 12 Labors Project. He's doing increasingly difficult physical tasks to raise awareness and money for charities. Charities like the Wounded Warrior Project. When soldiers come back from war and they're missing limbs, that's what they do. So he tried to break the record for most pull-ups done in 24 hours. He stopped after 3,000. He'd torn his bicep after 2,000, but he kept going to hit that mark. Once he recovered, he flipped this giant tractor tire for 13 miles, so that's a half marathon. After that, he climbed a 20-foot rope, the equivalent number of times that it would take to climb Everest. Yeah, he's extraordinary. He describes himself as an average athlete. He says that he's just a guy, anyone could do this, just don't stop. So then the question is, why even try to be extraordinary? Is that question just a waste of time? Right? Trying to feel special, trying to feel extraordinary. Are you aiming at something that you can actually hit? It's like people at the gym who are trying to be thinner, or bigger, right? Are you ever thin enough? Are you ever big enough? Then you see people at the gym who have certain goals, certain markers that they aim for. They want to be stronger, they want to lift this amount of weight. You can achieve that. Right? Can you ever be thin enough? Can you ever be big enough? Can you ever just be enough? Now, Brené Brown says we live in a culture that tells us that there is never enough, that we are not enough, that we are not good enough, that we are not safe enough, that we can never be certain enough, that we can never be perfect enough, and perhaps the most dangerous, that we are not extraordinary enough. We're not extraordinary enough. So, what I found about these extraordinary people is they're not trying to be extraordinary enough. They're trying to answer the question, why? Why? Just why? They have a strong why. Michael McCassell, he asks himself why every day. He gets up at 4 a.m. He's an air traffic controller for the US Navy. He gets up at 4 a.m. and trains, not because he wants to every day, but because there are soldiers who can't. The people who are coming back from war, missing arms, missing legs, who would love to be able to do what he does. This motivates him. He does it for them. Again, trying to feel extraordinary though, it's kind of a waste. John Cleese, comedy legend. I just listened to an interview that someone else did with him, and he said now in his 70s, he's starting to consider that some of the things that he's done are kind of cool, kind of impressive, right? Had he waited to feel extraordinary enough, we would have been deprived of his genius. He would not have expressed himself. And there are people, person after person come to me, especially now with the podcast, to talk about their projects that they want to do someday, when they're ready, when they're enough, when they're good enough, when they're extraordinary enough, waiting. Hugh Laurie says it's a terrible thing, I think, in life to wait until you're ready. I have this feeling now that actually no one is ever ready to do anything. There's almost no such thing as ready. There's only now. And you might as well do it now. Generally speaking, now is as good a time as any. Right? Generally speaking, being extraordinary is like being cool. If you're trying to be, you're probably not. So just focus on something else. Focus on the task. Focus at something you can hit. The extraordinary people that I've spoken to, it's what they do. Thank you.
Anyone has a question? Yeah?
Not that guy. Those are right. Good spotting. Boom. I did not play basketball with them. I was at training camp interviewing them and other people, which was kind of cool. I tossed a ball to Alvin Williams, who was a Toronto Raptor hero, so that was kind of the most I did there. The coolest story, Jose Calderon. I'll tell one, yeah, really quickly. He left home at 13 years old to play basketball. His parents had him psych evaluated just to make sure he wasn't nuts. They're like, all right, you can go play professional men's basketball as a 13-year-old. He's not a big guy. Like, when he talks about extraordinary people, it's like LeBron James is 6'8", 260 pounds, right? That guy's extraordinary. He can jump out of the gym. Jose Calderon has no physical gifts that you would say would lead you to a life in the NBA, right? When I shook his hand, I thought I was going to crush it. I'm a lot bigger than him, right? That's a prized asset in the NBA. So the fact that he just went, he had the faith as a 13-year-old to just go for it, I thought was extraordinary. I thought that was amazing.
Any other question? All the way back.
What would you say is a common holdback for people taking that step to think, forget about not being ready and just go with it?
What's the common thing holding people back from just going for it?
For saying, oh, I'm not ready yet, I'll do it later.
So what's holding people back from saying, and what has them saying, I'm not ready yet, and not just doing it? Well, I mean, fear, right? Trying to be something that you might not ever be able to be, right? Trying to be enough when in your mind is this unattainable sort of thing. I don't know if that makes sense. Extraordinary is such a nebulous thing. It's like trying to grab onto smoke, right? And especially if you're sitting there waiting for that feeling to take hold before you take a step, I mean, you'll be waiting forever, right? So what I found is these extraordinary people, they're afraid, but they act. That's the difference, right? You can have your fear, just don't let your fear have you.
One last question? Okay.
People dancing in the back.
Right? Yeah.
So I was wondering, other people that you interviewed, they don't hear extraordinary. Do they like themselves? Like, how to...
Right, I was wondering if that question would come up. Yeah, so the question is, they don't see themselves as extraordinary, but do they like themselves? That was the Batman slide. That was the attempt to be like, they're fine. They're just not worried about being extraordinary. Like Batman, right? He's giving the thumbs up. Yeah, they like themselves. They know they've worked hard. They appreciate where they are, but they're not too worried. At least the people that I've interviewed. I'm sure there are people out there who are like, I'm the best. I mean, LeBron James recently said that he was the best basketball player in the world. Right? Then he lost the championship. I hope he doesn't see that. He's bigger than me. But yeah, so they think that they've worked hard, they recognize their accomplishments, but that question of being extraordinary, they're not walking around constantly patting themselves on the back. They're just people. Like us.
Oh. Right. Let's give it good. So that was our last speaker. There are actually a lot of lessons that we can take in from tonight. Even me, I was like, wow, mind-blowing. I just want to say thank you to all the speakers. Thank you so much. Last week, I only had 3 speakers confirmed, and the other 5 just came to me. It's Ubud. People just came to me, and thank you so much. You guys are all extraordinary. Thank you. Thank you. Just an announcement for me, the next PechaKucha will be in October. So that will go along with Ubud Writers and Readers Festival. And also we have a band playing outside after this. It's called the Barefoot Warrior. So you can go outside and chill with these speakers and talk about what they just talked about. There will be bar as well, so it's going to be great. And yeah, thank you so much, and see you on the next PechaKucha. And also, if you want to talk with Lydia or the 9 to Thrive, and there's Steve as well, you can go outside. Thank you so much.
I mean, like, that's right. I thought there was like motivation there. So it's just like, Anna, why don't you take time to taste me if you're in a partnership role? Shut up, pretty. Really? You're gorgeous. Just like Kanye, come and give us this card. I talked to Trini already. Because if this Kanye will contact you, Kanye, give us this card. I talked to Trini already. Yeah, I love Kanye. And I'm feeling, I love this version. And my stuff, really love this super. Focus kamu dulu kan? Wasn't about the selfie to me about like Kardinal. Anyway, because he came to the office and had this huge, I think it was his name, had this it's like, okay, that's right, don't worry, I will not tell anyone. There's a big guy. Oh, so should we read this? Oh, really? Yeah. And also, we didn't even know that she was well, it's because of that. So she's the best friend of my engineer. That apparently is the No. My engineer is the body best friend. And apparently we're as well. He is the best friend of the girl that came to science. I thought, because she didn't tell me what was the name of the business I thought it was I didn't know until you told me. And all this gossip. She's my supervisor, so of course I will not ask her for like details of what it was.